Welcome to Purana Talk with Leon and Alan, and we're reading the Garuda Purana, and we're in the second section.
Chapter 34, Results of Virtue and Sin. The Lord said, O Tarksha, listen to the precise traits of virtue and sin, the merit and demerit. Go ahead of men. Now, the Lord in this case is Vishnu, and O Tarksha it's a term of address that he uses for Garuda, the mount of Vishnu, the king of birds or the lord of birds. But I don't remember what it means, Tarksha, but that's who he's talking to. In the Krita age, they extol penance. In the Treta, they extol knowledge. In the Dvapara, sacrifices and charities. And in the Kali, only gifts are extolled. So these are the 4 yugas, ending with the Kali Yuga, in which we live. Those who recite the mantras mentioned in the Smritis and perform Ishtapurta and other rites as far as they can are never assailed by sins. Ishtapurta, Ishta meaning personal piety, Purta meaning works for the benefits of others. I should probably, I didn't read all of the first footnote. I'm trying to avoid having to read the Sanskrit, but I could do that, I suppose, if I have to.
It'd be good if you could.
All right. First, on the yugas, the duration of each is said to be respectively 1,728,000 years, 1,296,000 years, 864,000 years, and 432,000 years of men. The 4 together comprising 4,320,000 years of men, which is equal to 1 Mahayuga.
Big Yuga.
The big Yuga. It's also supposed that the regularly descending length of the yugas represents a corresponding physical and moral deterioration in the people who live during each age, Krita being called the golden and Kali, or the present, being the iron age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you want me to do Ishtapurta, personal purity. Purta means works for the benefit.
This is the second footnote now.
Yeah, there's a second footnote on the third stanza. Those who recite the mantras mentioned in the Smritis and perform Ishtapurta and other rites as far as they can are never assailed by sins. All right. Compare. Ek Agni Karma Havanam Tretayam Yacha Huyate Antarvedyam Cha Yadan Mishtam Tadabhi or Dhyate Tadabhi Vapi Kupata Dagadi Devataya Tana Nicha Anna Pradana Mara Maha Purta Matyartaha Prachakshate. There.
Thank you. I think it's important just because it helps people get a sense of the poetic kind of sound.
Oh, that was poetic, wasn't it?
Well, maybe not perfect, but
4.
It gives them a better sense of what it is.
Men who grow trees by the roadside and who dig tanks and lakes go along this highway very happily. He who gives fuels here on the earth is never tortured by snowfall, ice, or chillness in the abode of Yama. He who finds his way warm and pleasant. He finds his way warm and pleasant. So in other words, do good deeds in this life and you'll reap the rewards in the afterlife. And sort of concomitant to what you do. You plant trees by the roadside, you'll travel happily in the land after death. If you give fuel as needed to people, you will be victim of cold and such when you're traveling. By giving gifts of plots of land, men go along that road fully satisfied, decorated and richly adorned by fragrant flowers. All their wishes are fulfilled. He who has gifted plots of land is deemed to have gifted gold, gems, pearls, jewels, and clothes. The gifts that men make in the world stand in good stead in their pathway leading to Yama's palace. And, it was noted that gifts are how you get ahead in this age, right? Didn't it say that? Gifts someplace? I was trying to remember where that was. Yeah, it was in the second one. In the Krita age, they extol penance. In the Treta, they extol knowledge. In the Dwapara, sacrifices and charities. In the Kali age, only gifts are extolled. And then it goes on to give these, gifts of planting trees, gifts of giving fuel, gifts of giving plots of land. The gifts of men in this world stand in good stead in their pathway leading to Yama's palace. Different sorts of dishes and foodstuffs which the sons offer serve the purposes of the Pitris. It is the same Atman that is known as Sun, S-O-N. Atman as Sun. Oh, here we go again. Angadangat. Angadangat prabhavasi hridayadadhi jayase. Atma vai putranamasi. And from the Shatapada Brahmana, I expect. That is the SB that it comes from. It is the same Atman that is known as Son. It is the son who comes to the succor of his father in the abode of Yama. It is he who saves father from hell. He is therefore called Putra, which is son. Footnote: the son is the savior of his father. Compare Punamno narakad yasmatrayate pitram sutta tasmat putra iti proktah svayameva swayambhuva. 10. Hence the son should perform shraddha till his death. The dead man moved about in his subtle body will derive enjoyments thereby. At the time of cremation in the funeral pyre, if water libations are offered by the descendant, the dead man goes to Yama's abode in all pleasure. In an earthen vessel which is not baked, milk should be given for 3 days for propitiating the dead. 3 pieces of things should be tied with a string and dropped on the crossway.
What
12.
Verse did we have that said subtle body?
Subtle body. 10. The dead man moving about in his subtle body will derive enjoyments thereby.
And then 11.
At the time of cremation, in the funeral pyre, if water libations are offered by the descendant, the dead man goes to Yama's abode in all pleasure. 12. In an earthen vessel which is not baked, milk should be given for 3 days to propitiate the dead. 3 pieces of things should be tied with a string and dropped on the crossway.
3 pieces of string.
No, 3 pieces of things should be tied with a string.
Things.
Things is vague.
With string.
Tie your things in strings.
Left at a crossroads.
Crossway, yes. Doesn't say roads, but crossway implies road, I think. 13. O bird, i.e. Garuda. The dead man in his aerial form in the sky will be drinking the milk on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd day. On the 4th day, the bones should be collected by the son, along with his nearest relatives. After that, he should give water libation to the deceased. The water libation should be made in the first 3-hour period, not later in the forenoon, nor at midday, nor in the afternoon, nor during dawn or dusk. The first water libation should be performed by the son along with the members of the clan and kinsmen. It can be performed by the members of the same caste, or even by those of other castes. No Brahmin should offer water libation to a Shudra. In that case, he will be violating the sacred code of conduct. At the death of a Shudra, if a Brahmin takes firewood to the funeral pyre or follows the corpse, he becomes impure for 3 days. After 3 days, he should take bath in the river that joins the sea. The river that goes to the sea. Perform 100 pranayamas and drink ghee in order to regain purity. A Shudra can offer water libation to the member of any caste. A Vaishya to the member of 3 castes, a Kshatriya to the member of 2 castes, but a Brahmin to the member of his own caste. If they go to offer water libation, the members of the clan should eschew the use of toothpick twigs for 9 days. O son of Kashyapa.
Wonder why that is.
O foremost among birds, if a person joins the funeral either on the way to the cemetery or in the house of mourning, he should leave the party after cremation only at the same place or in the house itself. This is what is laid down by the learned. The women go ahead and the men follow. They should sit on a rock and perform achamana.
So
Footnote.
what verse is no toothpick?
Oh, no toothpicks is in 21. So it was interesting. It says here that in the procession, this is what is laid down by the learned. The women go ahead and the men follow. But the footnote says, according to the custom prevalent in northern India, men precede the women when the corpse is being taken to the cemetery, while the process is in reverse on return.
Interesting. So that's funeral procession in what verse?
22, 23. There must be sufficient water in the vessel to cover up the mustard seeds, and the durva grass should be strewn on the top. Those who took part in the cremation rites should chew margosa leaves and take oil bath.
You know anything about margosa?
I think there's a soap. Isn't this kind of neem? I think it's neem, maybe.
Could be.
I think it's neem. I'm just saying it's neem. You'll have to look it up. Okay, where'd my margosa go to? Members should cook food, and margosa leaf or neem is going to be really bitter. That's one of the characteristics of it. It's used culinarily sometimes because it is a bitter thing. It will stimulate your digestion, bile, and things like that.
Don't take the oil internally. Not good for you.
It's oil bath on the outside.
Yeah.
Members should cook food for the party outside the house. They should not eat meals prepared inside the house. They should take food in earthen vessels, avoiding shallow vessels. They should remember the virtue of the dead and recite Yamagata, which it tells us is Rig Veda 10:14.
So that's 26.
They should realize that the auspicious and inauspicious is brought about by the actions alone. Even when he enters the new body, the dead man is associated with residual merits and demerits. After the 10 days' rites are completed, the dead man's soul enters the new body. When the Navashraddhas, together with the 16 others, are performed, a new body is created for the soul.
That's interesting. So they're starting to talk about reincarnation here.
Mm-hmm.
So where did that start? That's
27.
27.
Even when he enters the new body, the dead man is associated with the residual merits and demerits. After the 10 days' rites are completed, this is 28, the dead man's soul enters the new body. When the Navashraddhas, together with the 16 others, are performed, a new body is created for the soul. The descendants help to shape a body for the soul, either with the Jinjali seeds or the holy grass, and put up the 5 jewels in the mouth for the body to grow. So this is really the new incarnation. This is a vehicle for his transmigration.
After
In a
in
sense,
the afterlife body or something.
It's the body that he takes to the afterworld.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
But it's beginning to tell us why you're doing some of
The
these
descendants
things
help
we've
to
wondered
shape
about,
a
like
body for the soul, either with the Jinjali seeds or the holy grass, and put up the 5 jewels in the mouth.
Yeah, we wondered why they were doing that.
For the body to grow. Mm-hmm. If there is no menstruation, no conception takes place. Therefore, the descendant should be careful not to eschew the rite of strewing the Jinjali seeds and the Dharma grass on the earth. I didn't follow that.
They're just saying you need to do the ritual.
Okay. If you don't strew this, it's okay. 31, he may be born among the cattle or among the stable. Wherever he is born, the Shraddha reaches him. Just as the arrow discharged by the archer reaches the goal, so the Shraddha reaches the person for whom it is performed. No Shraddha can propitiate the soul so long it does not enter the body. If the soul is not propitiated duly during the 10 days after it leaves the body, it will have to wander in the ether without food, agitated by hunger. Going through this again.
Yeah, well, they're explaining that no matter where you do the offering from, it'll get to the person it's for.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 32, I think. And then 33 says basically that if you don't do the offering, this is what will happen, is that there'll be hungry ghosts.
34. The soul of the deceased stays in the water for 3 days, in the fire for 3 days, and in the ether for 3 days. For 1 day it stays in Indra's heaven. When the body has been burnt in fire, the descendants should offer water libation to the departed soul. The mourners should take bath and feed upon the cake or the rice meal. They should perform the Navaka Shraddha on odd days, which is to say the lunar 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th. Why not the 13th? Whether at the threshold of the house or at the cremation ground or in a holy place or in a temple, wherever the first day's rites are performed, the concluding rites too should be performed there. 38. The Shraddha on the 11th day is common to all castes. There is a ceremonial ablution for purification. After performing the 11th day Shraddha, they become free from impurity accruing from death. After the ceremonial bath, they should gift a bed to the Brahmana. This releases the dead from pretahood. If there is no member of the same clan for the performance of the rite, another man can perform the same. Of whatever eatable the pinda is made on the first day, as prescribed, the same should be used for the entire Shraddha. The Shraddha should be performed for 10 days, pronouncing the name and gotra of the dead, but without mantras. Whosoever performs the Shraddha should enter the house discarding the clothes he wore at the Shraddha.
Discarding. Misprint.
Whether of the same lineage or of a different clan, a man or a woman, whosoever performs the first day's rites shall perform the concluding rites on the 10th day as well. So a lot of this emphasis being put on who, however it's done at the beginning should be how it's ended.
Right.
If you initiate the ceremony at this location, you should conclude it at that location, whatever happens in between. And that the people who do it should be the people that conclude it. The same food offering that's given in the pinda should be the food offering that you give throughout. Don't change it.
And for witches, this is the law: from where they enter in, from there must they withdraw. For instance.
Another witchism.
Mm-hmm. 43.
Whether of the same lineage or of a different clan, a man or a woman, whosoever performs the first day's rites shall perform the concluding rites on the 10th day as well. With the offering of 10 pindas by the descendant, the soul acquires a new body just as the fetus does in the 10 months in the womb. The rite of pinda and water libation shall continue as long as there is impurity accruing from death. This is applicable to the members of all castes. When impurity is for 3 nights, 3 pindas should be given on the first day, 4 on the second, 3 on the third. Milk and water should be given in separate cups. Ekodishta should be done on the 4th day. By the pinda of the first day, the head is formed. Eyes, ears, and nose are formed on the 2nd day. Cheeks, mouth, and neck are formed on the 3rd day. Heart, sides, and stomach are formed on the 4th day. Waist, back, and anus are formed on the 5th day. Thighs are formed on the 6th, and ankles are formed on the 7th. The calves are formed on the 8th day, O Lord. Feet are formed on the 9th. Hunger on the 10th. On the 11th day, the pinda is offered to the dead man along with meat. Bread and cooked rice together with milk should be offered to a Brahmin after washing his feet. The 16 shraddhas to be performed on the 11th day are in anticipation of the 12 monthly shraddhas. The 11th day shraddha, the tripaksha, the 6 weekly shraddha, and 2 6 monthly shraddhas, O bird. 54. The day on which the death has occurred is the basis for all monthly and annual shraddhas. That month is the first one when the 11 days are completed. That is the first shraddha which is performed by the hand of the dead at the spot of death or at the seat of the Brahmana. 11 days should be counted from this date. It's a long one. For all monthly shraddhas, the tithi falling on the day of death is the base. During the Rikta days and Tripaksha, tithi is not reckoned by scholars. If the man dies on the full moon day, the 4th day is deficient for him. If the man dies on the 4th or the 9th day, the 14th day is deficient for him. The deficient days are called riktas by the experts. The food that is cooked on the 11th day with the dead man in view should be discarded on the crossroads, and the performer should bathe again. Or crossroads, 59. 60. Since the 11th day, a pot full of corn with water should be gifted to a worthy Brahmin every day for a year. The bones in human body number 360. These bones are nurtured by gifting the water pots. When the water pot is gifted, the ghost obtains relief. If a person dies in the forest or at an odd place, cremation may take place on any day, but impurity will be counted from the day of death. By gifting a vessel full of jinjali seeds, incense, etc., the Brahmin is purified on the 11th day, the Kshatriya on the 12th, Vaishya on the 15th, and Shudra in 1 month from the day of death. The same period holds good in case of birth as well. 3 nights in 3 months, 2 fortnights in 6 months, the day before the year is complete, water oblations should be made with the dead in view. By acting in this way, the caste men obtain purity.
That's going to be hard to do after you burn them up.
Not physically in view.
Well, that's why I bring it up.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
You don't. You do them in honor of the dead,
right?
On their behalf. 67. Since the 11th day from the date of death, the pinda should be given every day for a year after worshipping Vasudeva. As the rays of the sun cover the stars, so does the pinda cover the Pitris. Never one becomes a ghost if the pinda is given by the descendant. O foremost among birds, the deities extol the gift of a bed. Man's existence on the earth is not permanent. There is no guarantee that after death the descendant would gift the bed. The relationship of ordinary kinsman or even of father lasts as long as the man lives. After death, seeing the gulf in between, love ceases to operate in a trice. The self alone is the kinsman or the enemy.
That's an interesting line.
Compare. Uddharedatma natmanam natmanamavasadayat atmaiva hyatmano bandhuratmaiva ritpuratmanaha. Bhagavad Gita 6:5. There you go. The self alone is the kinsman or the enemy. Even as he lives, one shall think of this and perform his duty piously. After my death, who will be there to give a gift of silk cloth? Thinking thus, he should gift things with his own hand while he is still alive. 73. The bedstead should be of good wood, ornamentally inlaid and engraved. The bolts and crossbars should be golden. It should be covered with a red velvet cloth. The pillow should be nice and exquisite. It should be fumigated with incense and scents. A golden idol of Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi should be put on the sides. A vessel full of ghee, betel leaves, saffron powder, camphor, sandal paste should be placed nearby. A lamp, a pair of sandals, umbrella, chowries, seat, vessel, and 7 kinds of grass should be kept near the bed. Other requisites of man going to sleep, such as drinking pot, mirror, etc., should be kept ready. The cot should be embellished with a covering of 5 colors. The bed should be gifted to a Brahmin after duly worshipping him. The gift of a bed will bestow pleasures of heaven upon the provider. The Brahmanas should be honored duly and provided with 5 clothes. They should be given ornaments for ears, neck, fingers, and arms, and vessels should be necessary for domestic use. They should be given water for washing feet or sipping, and 5 gems, along with raw rice grains. While making the gift, the giver should pronounce, "O Krishna, just as your bed in the milk ocean is never without Lakshmi, so also let my bed be never empty in all births I take."
I like that. What verse is that?
It's 80, 81. Probably the 81 part, the way this is laid out.
So,
82. With this prayer to Lord Krishna, the bed should be given to the Brahmin. The same procedure is prescribed even when the gift is made on the 11th day. Do you want that again?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Even if a kinsman makes this gift, the dead man will be happy in the other world, nourished by the articles of gift. O Lord of birds, a special thing should be noted, I mention now. Whatever has been regularly used by the deceased formerly, the garments, vessels, or vehicles, whatever had been liked by him before should be made over as gifts. Among the gifts, the gift of bed makes the dead man extremely happy in the city of Indra or Yama.
It's interesting in light of what I've been doing.
87. The wry-faced attendants of Yama will not torment him. He will never be oppressed by excessive heat or cold. As a sequel to the gift of bed, he will be free from the bondage of actions. Even if he had been a sinner, he is sure to go to heaven, seated in a splendid aerial chariot and attended by celestial damsels. The dead man shall stay in heaven till the final deluge, when all living beings are destroyed. Footnote 1. Final deluge, when the universe is destroyed at the end of a kalpa. Prahlad. Prahlad. 90. The woman who performs 9 or 16 shraddhas and the regular monthly rites for the whole of a year, and also makes the gift of bed for her husband, will have an everlasting welfare. While alive, she will be of some benefit to her husband. Adhering strictly to truth, she will lift up her husband from hell. Footnote. Elsewhere, the Purana extols the self-immolation of women by ascending the pyre of her husband. he or she gets to live.
Good thing.
Yeah. Seems. Let me see.
So it's probably especially important for men that die without a son to do the ritual. That way the woman can do it.
Right. I've lost where the footnote was here.
You were 90-something.
Oh, there it is. 92. For favor of the dead woman, a golden doll, saffron powder, collyrium, clothes, ornaments, or bed can be gifted in the following manner. What is useful to women, ornaments, etc., the garments worn by the dead woman, should all be collected and placed properly. Then the guardians of the quarters, the deities of planets, the images of Vinayaka should be worshipped. Vinayaka is Ganesha. Then the performer of rites wears a white cloth after the ceremonial bath and takes a handful of flowers. He stands in front of the Brahmin repeating the following mantra. This is the idol of the dead with all, woman it says, with all the necessary requisites and gems, O Brahmin. This is gifted to you. The self itself is Shambhu, the auspicious Gauri and Indra together with all the deities. Hence the bed is being gifted, may her soul be gratified. The gift of bed should be made by the preceptor or to a Brahmin burdened with a big family. After accepting the bed, the Brahmin shall explain with pleasure, Ha! Who has given me this? Make it sound spontaneous. Then, after bowing to the Brahmin and circumambulating him, he should be allowed to go. Thus, O bird, the gifts are made to the Brahmin. Gifts of cow, house, bed, or virgin should not be made to many simultaneously.
So don't spread it out too much.
I guess. If gifts are divided among Brahmins, they bring about the downfall of the giver. O Tarksha, listen to the benefit that accrues to one who makes a gift thus. For 100 divine years or more, he's honored in heaven. As a result of the gift of a bed, he acquires more benefit than he would by performing holy rites in Vyatipata, or Kartika month, or at the confluence of two ayanas, or eclipses of sun and moon at the holy city of Dwarka, Prayaga, Namisha, Kurukshetra, or Arbuda, or on the Ganges, or at the confluence of Sindhu with the ocean. All prime locations, prime real estate for these things. Okay, so Vyatipata is a particular conjunction of stars, it tells us. Kartika is a month that falls in fall, in the autumn, late, August, September, October, in there, September. Or at the confluence of two ayanas, which is the sun's passage north and south of the equator. So that would be solstices?
Right,
Equinoxes. Or eclipses of sun and moon at the holy city of Dwarka, and Dwarka's in Gujarat, where the Somnath Mandir is. It says, footnote, Dwarka or Kushastali, near the extreme western promontory, was the capital of the country Anarta in the peninsula of Gujarat, and a holy city for Krishna. Prayaga, which is Allahabad. Naimisha, which is a sacred forest where the ascetics used to hang out. It says here it was on the river Gomati in the Ayodhya kingdom. So the Gomati runs through Lucknow. It runs through Faizabad, and I don't know about Faizabad, but Ayodhya is just outside of Faizabad, and that's where Rama comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
5, it was Kurukshetra, which it tells us is modern Kurukshetra, also known as Panipat. That's in, Haryana, north of Delhi. Modern Mount Abu in Rajasthan is Arbuda. It's another name for Mount Abu. And, okay. 105 to 107. He'll be born in the world of mortals on the destruction of his karman as a comely man, very rich, comprehending virtue, and a master of all sacred literature. Again, after dying, he will go to Vaikunta, seated in a divine aerial chariot, surrounded by celestial damsels. He then deserves the Havya and Kavya offerings and rejoices in the company of the Pitris, the ancestors. Whether performed on the Ashtakas, on the new moon days, on Magha, and on the Pitri days, here, O Tarksha, the Shraddha, if the dead are turned in ghosts, is rendered ineffective without Sapindikarna. So Ashtakas are 8 days. It says here the 8th day of 3 months, Pausha, Magha, and Palguna, on which the mains are to be propitiated. So specifically those 3 months on the 8th lunar days. And Sapindikarna, we've covered that before. That's a ritual with Hindis. Holy kamoli. This goes on and on. Sapindikarna should be done at the end of the year after death. Shodashi should be performed for the purification of the corpse. For the purification of the mains lineage, 50 ? Should be added. Further action, the original text was unclear, in other words. Further action may be taken by adding more. For the Shudra, the same is done at will. Presently, Sapindikarna should be done within the period of 12 days, accompanied by sacrifice. Until it is done, the ghost hovers around the fire. Hence, Sapindikarna with fire shall be done within 12 days. Gaya Shraddha, or Amavasya Shraddha, like new moon Shraddha, should not be done in the middle of the year without Sapindikarnas. If there be many co-wives, and if one has a son, all of them shall be deemed to have a son. By that son alone. What? If there be many co-wives, and if only one of them has a son, all of them shall be deemed to have a son by that son alone.
Right. In other words, that son could do the ritual for any of them, any of the mothers.
Asapinda son should not perform mains rites in the fire. If he does so, he will incur the sin of slaying his father. If a woman discards her life after the death of her husband, her Sapindikarna should be done along with that of her husband.
Right. They've explained.
In other words, if she ascends the funeral pyre.
Right.
117. Whosoever may be the father's wife, Vaishya or Kshatriya, the son is entitled to perform Sapindikarna for her. If a Brahmin is married a Shudra, then the son should perform Ekodishta Shraddha for her, but not Sapindikarna, not Sapindidanas. Sapindana, it says. The sons born in 4 castes should be united with their respective mothers by the Sapindana rite. When a Shraddha is done in Anvashtakya, which it tells us is a Shraddha performed in the 9th day of the dark half of the 3 months following the full moon in Margashirsha, i.e. Pausha, Magha, and Palguna. Oh.
Basically, they're just giving the ritual timing for these rituals.
So, when a Shraddha is done in Anvashtakya, when a Shraddha is meant for prosperity, and during Sapindana, separate Pinda should be done for the father as well as mother. 121. The Sapindana of the mother should be done with the grandmother, and of father with the grandfather. This is what I think to be proper, O Tarksha. And it is God speaking, so he knows what he's talking about. If a woman dies sonless, the husband should perform Sapindana, and she should be duly united with 3 mothers. If a woman has neither son nor husband, then her Sapindana should be done by her brother, or husband's brother. If she doesn't have a husband, how should she do that? Or in the absence of a successor.
But the brother lives.
Oh, I guess. If the woman has neither husband nor son, nor a clansman, or husband's brother, then her brother should perform Ekodishta. If Sapindana is left out by negligence or due to some other obstruction, then Navaka, Sodasha, and annual Shraddha should be performed. A wise man will do all this after the cremation has taken place, but not otherwise. If the man has died unknown and hence not cremated, the descendants should make an effigy of grass and burn the same in fire. Really? 127. It is the son who should do the sapindana of his father, not the father of the son. Due to affection, the sapindana of the son should not be done by the father. If there be many sons, only the elders should perform the obsequial rite. Navaka Shraddha, Sapindana, Shodasha Shraddhas should be done by one only. Even when the property is undivided, the sages have stated that only one son can perform the funeral rites. If divided, the others too can perform the rites separately, each of the sons during the same rite himself. If the 16 Shraddhas are not performed for the deceased, his ghosthood becomes permanent, even if hundreds of Shraddhas are performed in his favor. For a sonless person, his brother, brother's son, Sapinda, or other disciple may do Sapinda. For all sonless persons, the daughter can perform Sapinda through Ritvij or a Purohit, in other words, through a priest. If after the death of father an eclipse takes place within a year, the sons should neither do Parvana nor Nandimukha. Similarly, during great calamities within the year, Tirtha Shraddha or Gaya Shraddha or any other Shraddha for the mains should not be done at all. No pinda should be offered to the mains if their sapindana has not taken place. According to some, gifts for the Yajna Purusha and for the deities can be made even if the year is not complete. Whatever is given to the mains except Argya and Pinda, all that should be done according to the prescribed method. The mains of the deities are deities. The mains of the mains are sages. The mains of the sages are deities. Father wins through them.
Enigmatic. You read it again for me.
The mains of the deities are deities. The mains of the mains are sages. The mains of the sages are deities. Father wins through them.
Mm-hmm. Or wines, maybe, through them. Interesting.
140. The Lord of Sacrifice is the Lord of all mains, deities, and men. Whatever is given to him is given to all. If the son performs the Shraddha of his father within the year of his death, he is absolved of the fruits of his sinful acts performed in several births previously. If no pinda is gifted and no water libation is made, the deceased obtains ghosthood and moves in air, oppressed by hunger and thirst. If father obtains ghosthood, rites due to the mains are of no avail. If mother attains ghosthood, the mains' rites for the father do not cease to be. If mother is dead, father is alive, the sapindana should be done with the grandmother if she is already dead, but should wait if she is alive.
Interesting.
O bird, hear. I tell you the truth. For those dead persons whose pinda has not been united, no shraddha and no water libation is fruitful, even if offered 1,000 times. Well, if you're still with us, congratulations. I got through a really long chapter.
But it's very interesting.
No, they're all interesting. You
It's
always say it's
of,
very interesting.
Well, it's giving a lot of details about sort of the ins and outs of who does the ritual, when you should do them, how often.
Yeah.
And all the little variations, like if grandparents survive but the parents are dead, and
if under these circumstances,
things like that. So fascinating. I don't know why you need this kind of elaborate detail, but if you need it, there it is.
Yeah.
It's explaining, what these ritual offerings that we've been paying the priests for are supposed to do for the dead, that's probably the most interesting part of this chapter.
What you get for your money.
Right.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Tell him what he's earned now. He gets a bed.
Well, what I
like that bed. That was a fancy bed.
Yeah.
And it smelled
like the one I gave away.
Oh, lucky you. Score.
Well, your mom scored too, because she gave a bed away.
Well, we need to give a bed away now. Well, I guess
we did.
Well, I guess we did.
And we have 2 more.
Anybody want a bed? Brahmins, we prefer to give them to Brahmins. But yeah, what?
Well, who's going to ask?
God.
There you go.
Okay.
Bye.